I would like to make an effort to make a few discussions here that have to do with looking at the world through the way we see it and thinking about things if it's possible for them to be one and many at the same time. Unified, one whole, as being together, or divided and divisible among every way, and therefore not unorganizedly divided, or if it's possible to have both of these entities of wholeness and many at the same time. What I want to do here is I want to talk about Plato's dialogue, Parmenides. In this dialogue, he has a discussion between Parmenides, Socrates, and Zeno, and what he does here is he brings this. This is mostly the big dialogue where he brings in his forms of what one of the big things Plato is famous for, and mostly what's going on here is we have Socrates, Zeno, and Parmenides. Zeno and Parmenides are monists, who hold the belief that this world is one whole and has a lot of oneness in it. And Zeno has this book where he says that, or his writing where he says that things are not many. And basically what goes on is they have this huge discussion about whether things are many or not. And then Socrates, or Plato via Socrates, Socrates discusses the forms. He gives a definition of the forms. His definitions include the forms, or a form would be itself by itself, divisible, and each representative of this form gets a share of this form. Now, Parmenides, who has his own philosophy of one many and is a monist himself, kind of picks at Socrates' definition of these forms and basically gets Socrates to clarify his definitions into a better idea of what these forms are. Now, what I want to talk about here is I want to talk about these forms and talk about the main idea of a universal. How in metaphysics, right? About in metaphysics, things aren't called forms anymore, even though we look back at Plato's forms in a respective way. Things are not called. We don't call the idea of yellowness. We don't call that a form. It would be called a universal, the universal of yellowness, or the universal of smoothness, or something like that. So I want to talk about these forms and thus talk about universals, and I want to talk about Parmenides and Socrates' conclusion of the definition of the forms, and discussion about. And I want to discuss how these are how these are one and many at the same time. And I want to discuss what this means for the entire world and stuff like that. I mean, because I've been thinking, watched a couple of videos on YouTube about one and many. I watched Professor Anton's video because I haven't been watching Professor Anton for that long, but I just maybe 4 months ago I kind of stumbled upon him, and I've been kind of going back and watching his video, and I saw his video one and many, and I want to talk about. This made me think about this, paper I wrote like maybe a year ago about the Parmenides dialogue, and I want to talk about it. So hopefully I can discuss things in one of many, and hopefully not. Jeez, and hopefully not confuse anyone or misconstrue the way things actually went down here. But again, to reiterate, Socrates' definition, Plato's definition of the forms. The form is divisible, it is itself by itself, and it is and each representative of the form gets a share. He keeps using this phrase, gets a share. Each representative is getting a share of this form. Now, there's the whole idea of a form being divisible and each representative of a form getting a share is kind of they're related because they each show the divisibility of a form. Now, Parmenides picks on Socrates' these two definitions because if you have, let's say you have a cookie and it's divisible, of course, I can tear a cookie apart. If it's divisible, I can tear it apart into crumbs, I can smash it up, and it's no longer one anymore. So, if you have something that's divisible, if it's divisible, it's not one. You can make it into many. I mean, just as easy as a snap of a finger. Therefore, it's inherently one, or I mean, it's inherently many if it's divisible. So, something being divisible takes away the oneness or wholeness or unity in this particular. Another thing is if each representative of the form gets a share of the form, this makes me want to come to Parmenides' sail analogy. The sail analogy is Parmenides' discussion of how something can be one and many. This is thinking of, you have a lot of people, possibly in a boat or something like that, a ton of people, all covered by a sail. Now, this sail, this whole thing from the outset, from looking at it from the outside, would get the idea of this thing being whole or one, when inside you have many parts. Now, Socrates says that each representative under the sail would get a share. So you're saying that each person under the sail gets a share. So if I can show this here, if I can show this here, we have this sail. We have this thing that's in the sail here, and we have a person here. This is his corresponding area over here. This is his share. This is that person's share, and we would go on, and that's basically, you would go. That's the way I want to discuss it. Is you would keep doing that, because if you had all these people under each person, the corresponding part of the sail on that is above the representative would get that part of the share. Thus, the form that the sail represents would be divisible. The form cannot be this way if you're going to have the idea of oneness. So, basically, the other thing that is, well, I don't want to discuss the other thing, but I want to sort of talk about Socrates' revision of this whole thing of divisibility and getting a share. His revision is saying that we don't that the way it really is that there's no partaking, but each representative of the form is a resemblance. It's the only thing that makes this makes this representative a representative is the resemblance of the form to the representative. So we have a likeness here between the form's entity and what the instantiation of the being is. So this kind of eliminates the idea of getting a share or partaking in it. It eliminates the whole idea of divisibility, because we have this. And this is kind of where we get the idea of a universal, where we have this whole feature or this characteristic which is sort of an abstract idea, but it's instantiated in beings. It's the being resembles the universal or the form. And I want to continue in another video, because I want to continue the whole revision of the idea of a form, so that so that I can kind of discuss the way the forms actually lay, or universals will actually lay as they are in the world, to kind of show how things can be one in many.